Welcome to this first discussion of the focus season of 2025. On Sunday, we focused on the glorious acts of salvation by the Lord when He freed Israel from Egypt, when He passed over the firstborn children of the Israelites due to the blood of the lambs on the doorposts, and struck down the firstborn of Egypt. Now, in this first event that we are focusing on this week, Israel is a liberated people that is led by the Lord to the Red Sea to encamp there. But then they become trapped between the ocean and the rushing chariots of the Egyptians. To have a clearer picture of these events, it helps us to remember the first interaction between the Lord and the Pharaoh, when in Exodus 5, Moses was sent by the Lord to the Pharaoh with the request that the people of Israel be allowed to travel for 3 days into the wilderness so that they can host a festival in honor of the name of the Lord. To this request, the Pharaoh reacted and answered, "Who is the Lord that I should obey him? I will not let Israel go. I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." In this very first encounter between the Lord and the Pharaoh hardens his heart against the Lord. And now in Exodus 14, the Lord leads Israel to the sea. We read in chapter 14, "Tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Pi-Hahirot and between Migdol and the sea." They are to encamp at the sea directly opposite Baal-zephon. Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert. "And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. But I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all of his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." It is the Lord who gave these commands to Israel, and they acted accordingly. But to the Pharaoh, it seemed as if Israel had been forsaken by the God, abandoned by their God. He was thinking about God in the same way that the people of Egypt and the surrounding nations thought about the gods, the idols of their day. In that way of thinking, people experienced the gods as fickle beings. They would appear and be present, but they would also just as easily forsake you and just go on their own way again. Sometimes they would act and it would be beneficial to you, and sometimes it would be detrimental to you. And you were delivered out to these capricious beings. They were not something that was a stable presence in the daily lives of the people of Egypt. In reality, man was experiencing himself to simply be a pawn in the greater game that the gods were playing. But now, Pharaoh will learn that the Lord is different. That God, the Lord of Israel, is the living God, the God of the covenant, the God that hears the cries of his people and then acts to save them. In this final victory that the Lord would achieve over Pharaoh and his army, he would show himself to be the living God. In this, we see a foreshadowing of the ultimate victory that Jesus would achieve for us when he gives himself into the grave, into death, and then exits the grave again as the victor over death. Now death no longer has any sting. It doesn't have any victory over us. We can live even if we die. This is the victory that Christ has attained for us. But more about this greater act of salvation in our next discussion. Good evening.